This is Out Loud and Laughing.
We are thrilled to welcome a powerhouse leader and very dear friend of mine, Daniel Peach, to the pod. A little bit about Daniel. He true heavyweight in the tech world, from Deloitte to IBM to Google, where I met him, and now he's global director of partnerships for Kaluza. He spent 15 years scaling global brands and driving massive impact. But more than that, Daniel doesn't just sit in the room, he changes it. He's influenced global policies at YouTube around conversion therapy. He also is working tirelessly on the front lines for nonprofits like Report Out, Stonewall Housing, and Para Pride. He's an Oxford MBA. He's an American living in London. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I don't know if I love the word heavyweight. I feel like I prefer lightweight if I'm being honest, but yeah, no, we'll go with heavyweight. No, thank you. And
It's
excited to
winter.
be on. Yeah, yeah. It's I'm in my nesting Netflix slow winter era.
I love that for you. And I have to say, that intro sounds like the ultimate success story, right? But we all know that behind every big title, there's a deeper, more personal journey. So you've mentioned before that your passion for inclusion actually started from a place of fear, specifically the fear of being out more in a conservative professional environment early in your career. So when you think back to those places like Deloitte or IBM, what was the biggest thing you felt you had to hide or protect just to be getting the job done? How did maintaining that mask impact your self-confidence back then?
Yeah, I think I walked in the door not having fully come out, which is actually the bigger problem. So I think like the two of you, I grew up in Florida. Uh, not, I'll say Florida feels a lot gayer now than it did growing up. It was, I don't know, I'm from Orlando and it felt medium conservative. There was a bit of, I don't know, there were drag clubs, we had a little bit of that, but also it was a little bit deep south. Did you guys have that? Because you're from Fort Lauderdale, I think, right?
Well, I went to UCF, so for my coming out years, I was actually in Orlando as well, ironically enough.
Yeah, yeah. So you would have seen it. Yeah, I'd say it took me a long time. It took me about 7 or 8 years to really fully come out. And it was kind of little pieces. So I came out to my family when I was 17 and then was kind of back in and then came out again in college and was back in and wasn't really out fully at Deloitte. And so there, I think I was out to like colleagues at my same level, but I don't know, it was okay. It was accounting, which was a choice. I don't know that I would have chosen that again, but let's say it was kind of where I was. So yeah, I just felt like it was pretty conservative. It didn't feel very open. We didn't have employee resource groups, so it felt like the environment wasn't so open, and it took me a while to actually come out. I'd say I started at IBM, started kind of engaging with employee resource groups, and that felt pretty safe. And so that was probably the opening. That, and I had a really good client who I love to kind of like kiki with. And that actually, strangely, that was the thing that helped me open up to my own team at work.
It sounds less like you were in the closet coming out of the closet. It sounds more like a revolving door. You just kept going through it.
Yes.
That was a good
Yeah,
metaphor.
I should have just come out. I mean, it's one of those things you look in hindsight and say, why didn't I? It was just internal. It was just that I'd had some good experiences, some bad experiences coming out, and I didn't feel brave enough to really, come out in that robust way and that the way you see sometimes on YouTube. I wish I had, to be honest, but it was where I was, and I think it was a combination of kind of being in a long-term relationship, feeling over time like I actually could come out, and then having just really supportive friends that got me there.
I think that's important because I remember, obviously, we were lucky, like at Google, where it was very inclusive and there's just a lot of gay people, so you feel like you're in safe space. But I do remember one of my first jobs in New York City was at a startup, and all of the execs there were white, waspy men from Connecticut who were definitely Republicans, and they didn't know how to act around us. So A, you didn't feel included, or B, you just felt like you weren't even being respected sometimes, at least in my experience. So I get the fear part, right? Of like, is it worth it?
You
You
need
know?
some coaching. I mean, actually, I didn't meet an out colleague. Actually, I don't know that I've ever had an out colleague on my close team. Employee resource groups, I think, could be really useful in just connecting the dots. But I've never directly worked. I think it took. I don't know if that's true, but let's say I didn't directly work with anybody that was out until deep into Google.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about all of that too is like you and I obviously met at Google, and we often joke about like the work husband dynamic, right? Like the person who on the same wavelength, like having the same dislikes for the same people. But I think for gay men, especially in like these high pressure environments like Google, IBM, all these different places, these bonds are more than just a convenience. Like they are kind of an emotional sanctuary, right? So can you talk a little bit about your experience with the work husband? Was I in this camp, Daniel?
Well, you were, and then I was thinking about it, and I thought, was I the only work husband, or did we have a big love situation on your side? I don't know.
Oh,
Oh,
like cheating.
it's unfolding live here on Out Loud and Laughing.
Different
That or
countries.
were we in a polycule and I didn't know about it? I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, it's really helpful, because I think you just need somebody. They say, the best workplaces are ones where you have friends, and so you can bond with lots of people, and certainly I've had work wives over
Mm,
time.
those are
I think
easier
you
to
might have
get.
been my first. Yeah, you might have been my first work husband, actually. Now that
Uh,
I think about it,
I love that for me.
you were my first. Who knew? But yeah,
Oh,
I think I know. Yeah, I do. I think that's one of the ways that really helps. And I talked about employee resource groups. I think that's just it's a way to connect with other people. And there's a level of connection or depth that you get with other queer people that you just don't get with
Hmm.
straight or cis people all the time. You can maybe get most of the way there, but there's just things that are unique. And it might be the references. It might be that we all watch Drag Race. It might be shared experiences. I don't know, but they're like those nuggets that kind of come together, and I think it's incredibly useful to have that if you can find it, or find it outside of the office. But it's better to have shared people you talk about in the office.
John, I don't even know if we've talked about this with you. Like, do you have any work husbands? Have you experienced that?
well, I definitely, I mean, I can't talk about them here. Their wives would be very upset. No, I'm just kidding. I definitely have. I also wanted to chime in to say, while I've not had the pleasure to work with Daniel or you, Brian, in a professional environment like Google or IBM, like having worked in other places in the technology sector in San Francisco where
Hmm.
inclusion was so important, something that I'm hearing come out of this, which I just wanted to sort of double click on, was the importance of making space, right? Because not only when, we were in a world pre, let's just for buzzword's sake say DEI, not only were we sort of like caged, but the moment that you were able to uncage somebody and sort of give them a lane, somebody like Daniel comes in and really flies with it, right? And so I just wanted to really just call that differentiator out here because the importance behind DEI isn't letting people in who don't belong. It's to let people in who belong more than we even give them credit for. So kudos to you, Daniel, for sort of breaking that glass ceiling there. But I am super interested to know because I'm going to switch back to work husband talk. I have had work husbands, and again, I'm not allowed to talk about them. That's between me and them. I'm just kidding. But there's a secret language between like somebody that you like wholly trust, right? And I think out of that comes so much power. So, how much of your friendship was built on that unspoken understanding of being gay in a corporate setting? And now I'm curious to know if you and Brian, if having Brian there sort of allowed you to let your guard down in a way that you probably couldn't with other colleagues that didn't align with what you believed in, or straight colleagues, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I mean, I think it allowed us to bond. We had a lot of work overlap.
Hmm.
I was in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. He was across global, and we had a really high kind of overlap on just core work. But I'd say what allowed us to go deeper were those little moments. I mean, we also are both from Florida. There was just a lot of commonalities. And so I think our networks kind of meshed so well because of that, because we had both personal and professional kind of commonalities. And I mean, the fact that I talked to Brian after leaving, which I should say is me mostly sending him like individual words that I hear on the pod that I've never heard before, or me commenting on previous episodes. where you're always kind of now going to be in my life. You and John is
Yeah.
just because of listening to the podcast. But yeah, I mean, I think it gave us maybe a deeper relationship than we would have had, and I think we were both more open, actually, maybe on work topics too, to be honest, not just personal. So it allows you to kind of open both sides.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. I think it's also just nice to have someone that, because like you mentioned, we overlapped a lot on a lot of the actual day-to-day work, which was, that was good because at least we had something like a shared experience to like, if you were going to bitch about something, it was familiar to me and vice versa. But allowed us to just stay closer and then also have the same love and hate for people because we overlapped on a lot of the same contacts because we worked in the same space and work. So I think that's true. And then we also both found that we had the same love for shitty television.
Yes.
I want to unpack that. I want to unpack that. I have a friend at work that gives me shitty shows to watch. What were some of the ones that you guys would share? What do you remember, Brian or Daniel?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I watch a lot of selling and buying. So selling Sunset, selling the OC, buying London, selling New York, owning New York. I mean, they're so formulaic, but they're so stupid, but they're so good
It's
to
so
kind of wind
good.
down.
I
It's
remember
rich.
I remember I was someone in my like teenage college years never watched the OC. And I remember watching the OC and I was posting about it on my feed and then Daniel was like, "Wait, I haven't watched that in forever." And I believe you binged it in like 2 weeks.
I probably did. I mean, I think I'm midway between Ryan and Seth, but
Uh
I'm
huh.
more maybe a little bit more Seth. Yeah. And the biggest thing about that show was the music, and the music is still so good. It's like undiscovered bands that you hadn't heard of at the time, and there were the ones like Rooney, which are kind of specific to that time. But I mean, like I'm trying to remember, not Arcade Fire, but there were some really big bands that actually kind of started on
Mhm.
that show. So that was yeah, that was foundational. And living in Orange County, Florida, not that OC,
Yeah.
but there were a lot of commonalities growing up there, and I always wanted to live in a pool house. So yeah, that was my ambition. I never quite got there, but maybe someday.
Your
Maybe
Lauren
someday.
Conrad dreams.
Yes, my
Yeah.
Kristen Cavallari, exactly.
Kristen Cavallari, yes.
Did you ever Daniel ever date someone at work?
Ooh.
No, but I didn't, and it's partially because I mean, until I got to Google, there were so few options. I don't know that I would have. I will say, so when I first moved to London, I was single after I was in Oxford for a year, and kind of fresh, and was on Tinder, was on Hinge. And I remember once in a while I would see a Google person come up, and I would go and switch to the internal chat or internal website, figure out which office they were in, and if they were in my office, it was a no-go. If they
What
were in
about a
one of
different
the other
floor?
ones, I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah. There's room for discussion. There's room for.
I have definitely hooked up with coworkers before in my
Have
past.
you?
Not Google, but definitely in other companies past. Yeah, it's definitely happened. And I was also in sales for a while, so and this is pre-Google, so let me just preface that. But in my earlier, younger years when I was in sales, I would even hook up with some of my agency clients because we would be out drinking, and then it would just be, we're here, we're queer, let's get naked.
I'm guilty also. I hooked up with a colleague a long time ago too, and it was hush hush for a long time. I think like it sort of leaked, which I got a little annoyed about, but the group that it had leaked to was still sort of like this part of like this work family that I still have in my life today. So it's sort of a little bit of a joke. But that was the only time. I try not to shit where I eat, but that's really hard for me sometimes. So
It's a good rule. My husband's actually in marketing, so and then I worked. Now I'm totally out of marketing, but I worked tangentially with marketing, so we at least had things in common, but they were very different worlds. So I don't know. I don't know if I regret not doing that, but it feels like one of those experiences you have in your 20s that kind of everybody does. I just missed it because I was working in accounting, which is
Yeah.
not gay.
Oh,
when you said accounting earlier, the first thing that came to
drag
mind for
name.
me, well, yeah, or the anti-drag name, because I was gonna say that accounting is not gay math.
Yeah.
There's not gay math happening in accounting.
You can do gay math, but then they instantly call you out and say, "Hey, you're terrible at your job."
Yeah.
So
Here's the door. Oh
Oh my
man.
exactly.
gosh. So, okay, so let's pivot a little bit because outside of work, you're also really active in the community, which I do want to talk a little bit about with the nonprofit work you've done. And obviously you're jumping into a new job. You've been there for what has it been, 6 months? No, not even, like three.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah, still a
Uh
baby.
so how are you balancing all of that right now? And are you still staying involved outside of work with the nonprofit world, with our community? How are you trying to balance this new gig with keeping the gays going?
Yeah, I'd say not very well, to
Okay.
be totally honest.
Yeah.
I realized when I left Google, but even when I was at Google, I was on 2 boards. So there's one is called Report Out. They do human rights research for sexual and gender minorities. And then the other one is called Pride Wide. So the idea there is it's a nonprofit across the US and UK. And the goal is to reclaim the media narrative, which has gone just so, I mean, it's gotten so bad. A lot of really vicious stories were just not portrayed very well. So I said yes to both, and I mean I started Report Out long before I started Pride Wide, and I'm on the boards at both. And I realized I was just doing too much.
Hmm.
So short answer is I'm finishing up at Report Out end of December, and then dialing up. I'll be chair of the advisory board for Pride Wide starting in January. But I think the goal is ultimately to kind of stay out and help people as best I can. And I realized that the best way for me to help, being kind of accounting, mergers and acquisitions, consulting background, is the boring maths. Maybe not the gay maths, but like the actual money. Is I'm a you know it's largely focused on fundraising, so it's a little bit behind the scenes, but I think it helps support the people that actually are on the ground doing the work, and we can be the boring corporate gays behind the scenes that just enable it. Um, I did a little, I ran Pride at Google UK for a while. I like that. I may dial that up. Now, I would be probably more executive sponsor at Kaluza. So I'll probably do that this next year as well and try not to drop too many balls.
I always say that the biggest heroes sort of are living in the basement and not always seen in the forefront of all the celebratory ways that, like, we know things to get marketed out and sort of the front facing uh, successes that we have. So thank you for all of the work that you're doing behind the scenes and sort of in the underbelly of all of the advocacy work. You were just sort of starting to talk about your executive sponsorship at Kaluza. Are there any sort of other initiatives like aligned with the LGBTQ protections and sort of like communities that are being built at Kaluza?
Yeah, I mean, we're scale up, right? So we're about 800, 850 people at the
Hmm.
moment.
That's
It
pretty big.
started, it's a big, yeah, it's pretty big.
Crossing the chasm. Yeah.
It's getting there, yeah.
Yeah.
We're hiring really quickly, and I think the challenge when you hire really quickly is just maintaining culture.
Hmm.
I'd say the culture is really good, was really good at the core, and employee resource groups, really good benefits. So there was a lot there, and I think we're just trying to maintain that as we scale up, and everybody's so busy. There are, I think there are really good policies around things like transitioning, around healthcare, around equal sort of parental leave rights. There's a lot that's built in that's LGBTQ plus friendly. The other area my mind goes is, there are so many intersections, and I'll say I'm neurodiverse, so I end up kind of sitting in that community a bit as well. And one thing I realized actually years ago was some people, this cuts across, but what I heard actually from some trans and non-binary colleagues is there's a kind of comfort in being able to curate your environment and making sure it feels like a safe space. And for a lot of people, that's work from home. So we both want, from a tech setup, that people who identify as neurodiverse have the right tech in place and the right environment in place. But that also might mean flexibility and being able to work from the office and work from home. So it's policies like that that I think are really meaningful that I want to make sure we articulate kind of from the top, but equally we get, those suggestions bottoms up because honestly, it's lived experience that ends up, spinning off a lot of great policies. And you really have to ask the people in the community, whichever the community or affinity that might be, what they need to then figure out what you need to build.
I love a bottom up.
I knew you were gonna go. It's simpatico. We're work husbands. I knew
You
exactly where
know,
your mind was
I
going.
I just you gave the layup. I took it. Which is just, like, thank you for Daniel for everything that you're saying. It's super important what you're doing for the community. I still believe you're a powerhouse in the industry. I'm loving what you're doing and where you're going. We obviously want to segue now into a little more fun lightning round. It's more the important stuff, honestly. It's called This or That with our guest, and we just give you two things, and you pick which one. You can give us a little background with your answer if you want to, or you can just say, no.
This or that.
I'll go first. Okay, scruff or no scruff?
I mean, I've had a beard for years, so I'd say scruff. Yeah, I
You
love
like a
it.
little hair?
I love it. Yeah,
Into it.
can't go
Into
without.
it. Manly. Um, Pitching at a baseball game or catching?
Are we actually talking about baseball?
Daniel,
the
these are your questions. Do with them what you'd like.
Pitching. Yeah, and read into that as you will.
Listen, you love baseball. We love it.
Fastball. Into it.
Do you like a power lunch or a power nap?
A power lunch. I can't sleep.
Oh, yeah,
It's
that's
the
true.
it's
You
the
cannot.
worst thing ever. Yeah. It's I've tried to figure out how to do that, and I got a sleep coach last year, which is so stupid, but
I
it
tried.
actually kind of worked, and it's all the things that I know I have to do, and I just never do them. So that I get, or yes, I don't know where we are on that, but yeah,
It worked to my benefit though,
lunch.
because at like 7 or 8 p.m., John, I would message him and he would be awake still.
Yeah. We are the worm. We're not
Yeah.
the early bird. We are the worm. Do you prefer a shower or a bath?
Ooh, I'm bi on this. So most of the time shower, but then sometimes you just get home stressed and you just need a bath.
Did you say I'm
Great.
bi on this? I
I
love
love
that.
that. Yeah.
That's so good.
We're adopting that here.
Okay, we talked about this a little bit, but I don't know the answer. The OC or Dawson's Creek?
I've never actually seen Dawson's Creek.
Best finale ever.
Am I a bad gay? I probably should
No,
watch
I don't think you're a bad gay for
Just a
Dawson's Creek.
bad kid of the 90s. That's all.
Yeah, there you
it.
go.
Okay, yeah,
Slap on the
That's
wrist.
like
yeah,
it's like a participation ribbon. It doesn't really count.
true. It's got to be the OC, but it will always be the OC over. That's any show where the OC. It's always going to be the OC.
I love that.
Fair enough. Well, now let's see how bad of a gay you really are. Drag Race UK or Drag Race US?
U.S.
Good gay.
I agree.
See? Yeah, me too. I think the OG Drag Race is like the Disneyland of drag. Like it's just unbelievable what they can do. And I think all the spin-offs, they're close, but they don't have RuPaul.
It
That's just my
doesn't feel
own
the
take.
same.
It
Yeah.
doesn't. I agree.
I did go to a Work the World tour in London, and I got to see a lot of, actually a mix of US and UK. The UK queens were funnier, but it was a little bit of cherry picking. So yeah, still US all the way.
I'm also a really bad gay that I stopped watching Drag Race because the formula just feels too familiar now. It's not exciting anymore.
It's a bit of rinse and repeat. I mean, how
Yeah.
many times can they just bring in the drag queens? I will say, Silky Nutmeg Ganache's run of what, 6 or 7 straight wins, that did actually refresh a bit. But yeah, and it does become really formulaic. On the other hand, so is everything else, and we still watch
I
those
know.
shows. So
We still
you
love
got to
our
get back
drag.
to it, Brian.
I know. I will. Okay. Are you a butt guy or a chest guy?
A butter chest.
Yeah,
Chest.
I agree.
You just said butter chest, and I'm like, oh, maybe it's butter chest. That sounds nice.
That's a separate video, John.
pop pop one of those in the oven. Bear or twink?
Oof, otter, but I guess that's more bear. Is otter like a subset of a bear? I guess maybe.
Yeah, I think it's a category under it.
It's
It's a
all a
different
spectrum.
species, but yeah.
John and I always talk about. I don't know what category I fit into.
This could be a
Like,
whole episode.
I have no hair.
You're like a twatter.
A twatter. Yeah, like I'm like an old twink. 'Cause I'm
Should
not.
we form a committee, bring in Adam and everybody in your life to guess which category you might be?
Yeah, let's survey the shit out of people.
This is really good, and I want to make it happen because I want to know the answer. I already know I'm a bear, so
I
All
was
right,
gonna
last
ask
one.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you live in London now, but you're an American. Do you prefer a London pub culture or a New York City rooftop bar?
Ooh, there are more rooftops that they're building in London, but London
Hmm.
just doesn't have the weather for it. Pub, and actually, I'm British and American, and I feel like now I've been traveling just on my UK passport.
Oh, that's smart
I'm
though.
leaning into it. Yeah, so British all the way. Gonna be in London, I think, for the rest of my life. So Britain.
I love it.
But I will go to a rooftop with the two of you next time I'm in New York if you want to make the trip.
John's coming up
Hey,
all the time now.
I'm here for it, and I'll meet you on the top. But we'll get like Uber helicoptered in. I think that sounds fun. Daniel, thank you for bringing your UK side, your US side, your gay side, your vulnerable side. It's been awesome getting to know you, your journey, all of your accomplishments. We wish you all of the best and everything you continue to do for yourself and our community. So thank you very much for being on Out Loud and Laughing today.
Thank you. Loved it.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
This was Out Loud and Laughing.
We're available everywhere you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, iHeart, or wherever.